Good, good. Welcome, everybody. So excited to have you join us. So excited to be here with my daughter, Nina. And we have quite a history together. I think those of you that know me well know that Nina was one of my best teachers. Most of the insights I had early on in the context of parenting. And Nina provided the perfect person for me to have lots of insights. She started learning this when she was 14, and she was actually 13 going on 14. And after a period of time, she had a massive insight into thought. I came home from work one day and she comes running up to me going, Dad, this stuff works. And she saw very clearly how when she was upset, it was kept alive by the way she kept thinking about it. And she saw it so deeply that every one of our friends were coming up to us and saying, my God, what happened to Nina? So I'm gonna mute people here. Hold on. There we go. Okay, Nina, you're gonna have to unmute. Okay. By the time Nina was ready to go to college, she wrote her college essay on how much the three principles had affected her and helped her to have a lot of compassion for people who were suffering psychologically, and how she wanted to be able to continue to deepen her understanding of this and to share what she was learning with other people. And sure enough, after she graduated from college, she started working in a school for autistic kids and was able to share her understanding with not only the students, but with their parents. Then the next year, she got a job. She was hired by the Hawaii Counseling and Education Center to come set up programs for autistic people at the center in Hawaii, led by Christine Heath. And she also did a lot of work going into homes of families at risk. And her understanding of the principles helped her to not be freaked out by how badly people were behaving or the kind of challenges they were facing. She got her master's degree in psychology and wrote her thesis on the resilience of the counselor, the health of the helper. And I remember she kept talking about her understanding of how everyone has innate health built into them. And several of the people in her class changed their dissertations from being focused on what's wrong with people on their psychological well-being. She's got another degree and then worked in the sustainability field and became a leader in that. She worked as a green building consultant for many years and was a lead faculty on a federal group called Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design, helping companies create more energy efficient buildings and operations. She also was manager for a bringing that understanding into retail businesses, and had a really big impact on uh, energy design and efficiency in retail businesses. She's also the proud, loving mother of her two kids. Eva is 16, Jacob is 20, and it's been phenomenal watching her parent her kids through their challenges and their ups and downs, and how her understanding has allowed her to be incredibly resilient. Uh, I can honestly say Nina is one of the most resilient people I know. And in other words, she gets upset, but she gets over it quickly and completely, which has always been beautiful for me to witness all these years. And recently it's come full circle, and Nina is now at a point in her life where she wants to uh, dedicate her time sharing the principles, her understanding of the principles with other people. So she started a new practice called MindSpring Mentoring, and is taking new clients. So I'm very, very excited about that. And she's already been seeing clients, and I'm not surprised as getting really good results. So way to go, Nina.
Thank you,
Way
Dad.
to make your dad proud. Let me tell you. And we thought we would start today by the topic is living life all in, and the idea for the topic came from Nina. So I think it only appropriate that Nina talks about why this topic is so near and dear to her right now.
Thank you, Dad. That was a lovely introduction, and I appreciate all your kind words.
You're welcome, sweetie.
And I just want to say I just want to say a few quick things about my dad. I think you all probably have been exposed to him and know what a dedicated teacher he is. And that's really what I want to emphasize is that my dad is a teacher. He loves to teach and share what he knows about the principles and honestly makes an impact. It's a ripple effect. And changing one person's level of consciousness can have big impacts on the people in their lives, and it spreads outward. So I've been very fortunate to grow up with my dad as my teacher. And, he talked about that first insight I had. And I still remember it so clearly that I was at school. I was in middle school, which, as you know, can be a tough time. And I was a moody teenager who liked to slam doors and roll my eyes. And um, yeah,
You were master at that.
I was good at that.
I'd say to Kwesi, are you getting the look from
Yeah,
Nina? The
the,
look.
the death stare.
Yeah.
But one day I was and my dad had started to learn the principles, and he kept trying to teach us in his eagerness to share this amazing understanding that he was learning about. Um, he kind of, it was a barrage. And finally, he realized that none of us really were that interested, and he just took a step back and started living it himself. And slowly the changes that he made in the way he lived his life impacted all of us. And slowly we all became curious and wanted to know more. And as he taught us about our thinking and how whatever we are thinking creates our feeling and our reality, that hit home to me one day at school when a boy said something very rude to me. And I started getting caught up in it and was holding on to it all day. And at some point, I realized I only feel bad right now because I keep thinking about this. And if I stop thinking about it, I'm not going to feel bad anymore. And the everything dropped away. and I had a fantastic day. And I do remember running home being so excited to share with my dad what I had seen. And I do think that has had an incredible impact on my life and how I've been able to move forward. So this topic felt really compelling to me. Um, I have been through some major life changes of my own. I am recently divorced, and my kids are almost grown. And I was lying in bed one morning, and I just felt uncomfortable. And I know you all can relate to that feeling just where you don't feel good in your skin. And I just I was trying to adapt to my new reality of sharing my daughter with my ex-husband and only having her half the time and having just a big change in the way I live my life. I was starting this practice. Things just felt a little scary to me, a little unsure. There were a lot of unknowns. And sometimes life has a way of giving us exactly what we need. So I was lying in bed and I checked my phone and there was an email from Michael Neal. I don't know if you probably have all heard of Michael Neal. And I watched a little video that he did and he was talking about the fullness of life. And two things stood out to me about what he was saying. The first was that he talked about laughing all the laughter and crying all the tears and being full of life. And in that moment when I was lying in bed, feeling uncomfortable, that had a huge impact on me. And I felt like it's okay for me to be lying in bed feeling uncomfortable. I can embrace that. That's where I am right now. And that filled me with that helped me move from it, being okay with it. And that was a kind of a new experience for me, was being okay with feeling not okay. And I started something a couple years ago, cold plunging. And the point of cold plunging, it helps to reset your system, but it's also knowing that you can be comfortable being uncomfortable. And that to me, that's really what I want to talk about today, is that we as humans have this capacity to feel anything, from the highest of highs, from joy and happiness to uncomfortable feelings like sadness or anger. But when we have an understanding of where those experiences are coming from,
this absolute legend known as Harry.
oh,
Harry's been a client of ours.
oh, there you go. Thank you. So the big thing that really is standing out for me is that because we're human, we have this immense capacity to feel anything. And I'm sure you've all heard of the metaphor that of life like a movie projector, where we have this power source, which is this incredible source of energy that we're connected to in the world. And the light is our consciousness that makes us aware of our lives. And we have the film, which is our thinking. And we can play any movie that we want. Anything that we think will come to life, whether that's, a sad story or a happy story or something scary. And what I really am excited about is that it's all okay. This is what we're designed to do, is have all these deep experiences. And when we know where it's coming from, that our thinking is creating our experience in every moment, then it's not scary. So what happens is that we can go down into a lower state and not get scared by that and not have reaction to it. I told this story a couple weeks ago in in my dad's class on compassion that he just taught, where there was one point in my life a number of years ago that I had a really difficult year. There was a lot going on in my family, and I just had a really hard year. And I told my dad that. I said, Dad, I've just gotten over the hardest year of my life. And he got really upset. He kind of
I
got,
freaked out. I
yeah.
was like, oh my God, oh my God. It's like, oh, what can I do?
Well, and he kind of got mad. We know all these people. We have so many connections. We should have gotten you help. And and he said that, and we sort of ended the conversation, and I went out for a run, which is often what I do to clear my head and where I get some new thinking. Um, and I realized that even though it had been a really difficult year, that that was okay, and that because I had known where my experience was coming from, that even when it felt hard, I knew that that was coming from me. And I knew that it was my thinking that was creating this experience in the moment and making it feel hard. That made it more graceful. And so I called my dad and I told him that.
Oh, I remember the phone call.
He was shopping in REI.
REI, second floor. I know right where I was standing by the railing.
And I shared that with him and said, you know, Dad, even though it was a hard year, it was okay. And that
You also said you forget that when I have a hard time, I'm still very resilient and I get over it quickly, even though it's very difficult and painful.
yeah.
I went, oh my gosh, you're right, Nina. You're right. That was a real example of me getting caught up in my thinking, my
Yeah.
worrying about my daughter. Uh,
Yeah. So having some of this understanding allowed me to move through a hard year with a little more grace and a little more ease. And that really, to me, the point of life is not to be happy all the time. The point of life is to embrace this range of emotion that we can feel and to be filled with it. Um, you know, when you think about the term fulfilled, it's being filled with life. And so a way to do that is really to just feel the fullness of all the experience and not to be afraid of it. Yeah.
that's beautiful. I mean, don't you want that for everybody? I mean, the notion of being comfortable with being uncomfortable, when I first heard that from one of my first mentors, George Pransky, he says, Dicken, you got to learn how to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. I couldn't even imagine what that was because I didn't like feeling anxious and I didn't like that feeling. I wanted to get rid of it and I didn't want to feel it. So the more I resisted that feeling and judged it, the worse it got because now I'm experiencing my thinking of, I don't like this. I don't want to feel this way. I shouldn't feel this way. What's wrong with me for feeling this way? I got to get over this. It was almost like I was allergic to myself. And so I would have a reaction to feeling down. So I really like that piece of it is, and I remember when I was learning this, beginning to learn what it meant to do down well. And I started to realize that it's absolutely normal for people to have shifts in the quality of their thinking. I have not met a person ever who doesn't have moods. They go up and down. And now I realize anything in the world of form is going to go through cycles. You have spring, summer, autumn, winter. You have high tide, low tide. You have inhale, you have exhale, you have life, you have death. Everything in nature goes through cycles of coming and going. And I started to realize that my low mood times were like my psychological exhale. And I had been thinking that if I got healthy enough, I would not have low moods anymore. And it made me fearful and judgmental of my low moods. And when I started realizing it's impossible to not have low moods because it's a natural cycle, we eat food, we eliminate waste. Waste is natural. But you don't mess around with waste. You don't judge it. You don't fight it. You don't analyze it. What do? One thing, flush it. Flush it. Now, that's what Sydney Banks, my teacher, this enlightened man, would say it's normal to have low moods, but you don't have to hold on to that thinking, and it'll flow through you, flush back into the universe, because it's just energy condensed. And when you're not holding it, that energy starts to expand again and joins the energy of the universe. So how do we get so adverse to our own experience? Like Sid Banks saying, if the one thing people learned was not to be frightened of their own experience, everything about their life would change. You would be able to accept what is actually happening rather than saying it shouldn't be happening. Like if it's raining and you say, oh no, it shouldn't be raining, you're going to be miserable. Now, later, I had more insights into how the conceptual mind works. When I start thinking about things, I use concepts in order to think. So the conceptual world creates always a duality. So if there's a here, there's a there. If there's a, I'm feeling this right now, in my head, conceptually, I could say, I could feel better, but I'm not right now. When could I feel better? Well, it's going to be in some future. So I create an imaginary future where I feel better. And then I ask the question, how do I get there? I got to work on myself to feel better. I got to get to that better feeling. Well, rather than accepting and living in the world of time, where the past is making me feel horrible and I could feel better, but not now, but in the future. And I have to work somehow to get to a better feeling, or I have to wait and be miserable until I can feel better. Then I realized one of the main teachings that Sydney Banks gave was that the number one thing for any human being to learn that is the difference between thinking about things with your conceptual mind and being fully present, where you're not holding on to concepts. When you're not holding on to concepts in that moment, there's no past, there's no future, there's just the present. Because there's always only the present. There is no past. It doesn't exist. Memories from the past we bring with us, they're stored, they get activated, but the past doesn't exist. The future, there is no future. Show me the future. It doesn't exist except in our thinking. So Sid would say, in order to access your well-being, you have to learn that you can let go of drop out of, go beyond your intellect, your personal thinking. And it's the most ordinary thing in the world. He'd say, in every moment, every human being is a thought away from the present moment. I've had people say, I can't be present. And I guarantee if they were saying that to me and I said, but your house is on fire, they wouldn't say, oh, I'm sorry, I have to sit here and keep thinking about this because I can't get present to run out of the building. We're always a thought away from thinking about something and looking up, looking around, being open, being present. And it's only in the present moment that our thinking naturally flows. But isn't it interesting that most people, when they have a low mood, most adults, not little kids, most adults, when they have a low mood, do you know what they do? More thinking. What's going on? What do I do about this? What do I say? How do I deal with this? Why am I feeling this way? Why do I have to feel this way? And that thinking, as Nina realized in her first insight, is the thinking we do that keeps alive that low mood, keeps it going. So we get stuck in a low mood, so we start having chronic anxiety, chronic stress, or chronic depression. All that is we keep thinking about something while we're in a low mood, rather than letting the feeling help us realize that we're holding on to thought and we're not present. And thank God we feel stress. It's a good thing. It's a natural thing. And it's an invitation to come back and be present. So here's the deal. This is the fun part. Let's say Nina and I are both in a low mood. And because she's resilient, it means she knows when she starts feeling bad, it's as soon as she's able to just take that one little step back into being present. So she goes for a run, or she stops thinking about it, or she calls up a friend, or she reads a book or watches a movie, wherever her common sense tells her to go that's helpful. And let's say I'm in the same low mood she was in, but I keep thinking about it. Now we're both in a low mood, and she's present and I'm not. Very different experience.
Mhm.
She's going to experience grace and get over her low mood quicker than me because I keep thinking about it. The other day, I spent a week with my 5-year-old granddaughter, and I would say about 85% of the time, 90% of the time, she is so present and just filling up with good feeling and just alive and loving life and happy. And then occasionally she gets upset with her brother and it's the end of the world. She has a big meltdown. She's so upset. But there's a difference between what she does and most adults do. She does not keep thinking about herself and what she's feeling and what the other person did. She does not create time, an imaginary better future. She does not lament what happened and keep thinking about the past with memory. What does she do? She wants to play and get back to playing. And you can't play and enjoy life while you're thinking. It's impossible. So she becomes present right away. She stops thinking. And within 5 minutes from the worst meltdown in the history of the world, she's over it. She's back. She's present. She's resilient. So we call that in kids being naturally resilient. The good news, every one of us adults has built into them everything they need to be resilient, which means come into a low mood is just the low quality thinking full of judgments, not paying attention to them, letting them go, coming back to the present moment and coming right back up again. One time Nina said to me after she had her first massive insight, and it was a huge insight, She said, Dad, someone said something to me the other day and I got angry. And I tried to stay angry, Dad, but I couldn't do it anymore. I knew I was just making myself miserable. Why would I do that? And within 10 minutes, she was over her massive insight. She said, I can't stay upset longer than 10 minutes. That's resilience. That's possible for any human being. Low moods are not a problem then. They're a natural part. Oh, I'm in a low mood.
Yeah.
My thinking is low quality. If I understand that, I'm sane as can be.
Can I say a few things about low moods?
Jump right in. Jump right in.
My dad hinted at this, but using our feelings as a barometer.
Yeah.
And when we have those feelings of discomfort or judgment or fear or anxiety, those are all just cues for us that we're in thinking that we shouldn't trust. And
Beautiful.
for me, that's been a huge discovery is that when I'm in a low mood, I don't trust the thinking that I'm having. I don't make decisions. I try not to engage with other people. And and that's something that I love talking to my clients about too, because when you start to get suspicious of your thinking, because we've all learned habits of thought, and not all of them are helpful for us. As my dad said, memories get activated and we fall back into old things that have happened in the past, and reactions we've had come back to life. We get triggered and something comes back. But when you can start to see that, when you can start to catch yourself, oh, that's my habit, that when I get insecure, for me, when I get insecure in a conversation, I shut down. I don't want to talk anymore. I just shut down. And so starting to see that habit, I get a little bit of space from it. And that's the huge, for me, getting just a little bit of space from my thinking allows it to move past more quickly. And it's that recognition in the moment, oh, this is just my thinking. That little bit of space from a bad feeling allows it to not grip. And I know you all know the feeling of when you just get gripped and you're so in a feeling, an emotion that you can't even tell where it's coming from. And half the time we're not even aware of the thoughts that we're having. It just happens. But when you get that little bit of space and like, oh, I'm the creator here. I'm creating this. It gives you just a little bit of grace. And that little bit of grace can bring you back to the present. And something for me, in a way that I can tell is if I'm present or not, is when I'm out in the world, am I connecting with people? I love going to the grocery store when I'm present because I make eye contact with other people, I smile, I'll sing along to the music that they're playing, and I'll have a conversation with the checkout person, and we make a nice connection. And that's being present in the world, is having those connections with other people. But when I'm in a low mood and I go to the grocery store, I'm just getting what I need. I don't want to chat. I don't want to make eye contact with people. It's a huge difference. And so sometimes I think to myself, how do I want to live? Because we have free will. We can choose which thoughts we want to pay attention to. So sometimes I'll ask myself, how do I want to live? Do I want to live lost in my head? And sometimes the answer is yes. Like, yes, I'm compelled by this thought and I'm going to hang on to it. But other times I say, yeah, I want to be present in the world and I want to be fulfilled and I want to live fully. And so I let that thinking drop away. And it's not always, I mean, Dad, maybe you can speak to this, but you know, something I know that we all struggle with is letting thought go. And so if for me, it's become an experience more of just accepting and getting that little bit of space, and then it happens naturally.
Well, I love that. The difference between accepting and resisting is night and day. Resisting what we're feeling is like saying, I shouldn't be feeling what I'm feeling. You know how to drive a little kid crazy? All you have to do is go up to them and say, don't feel what you're feeling. They get so conflicted. How can you not? It would be like if it's raining out saying, shouldn't be raining. Well, what are you going to do? Your shoulds are judgments. Judgmental thoughts create tension or stress or upset. When we become fully present, we're not holding on to shoulds or judgments, which is why one time Sid Banks said, the most important thing any human being can learn is that you can disconnect from the intellect and be in the state of no thought. But he had to clarify, when we're fully present, we still have thoughts coming and going, but they're sort of behind us instead of in front of us. We're not in them gripped. As Nina, I loved how you did it, of going, then I just sort of step back. And now it's you're in awareness instead of in the content of your awareness. You've created some distance, and now you're thinking, that's not who I am. My thinking comes and goes, I'm still here. My feelings come and go, I'm still here. When I'm in the awareness position, if you will, thoughts and feelings are free to come and go.
And it doesn't matter what they are when you're in that. It becomes less important, the content of the thinking, when you're just aware.
Yes. It's like having a song on the radio that you don't like and you're obsessing over it. And then you walk out of that room into another room. It's still playing, but you're not giving your attention to it. When we're upset, we're giving our attention to something and thinking about it. That's what the intellect is built to do. It's just doing what it's built to do. Whatever you focus on, your intellect will keep conceptualizing. When you're present, you're not focusing on one thing, you're wide open. And as soon as you do that, your intellect will quiet down on its own. You don't have to do it. I worked with a woman who was having a psychotic episode, and she was screaming and yelling in rage in my office and literally bouncing off the walls. Literally, I mean, she was so upset. And she had been telling me, I don't know if this works for me, and this is too hard, and I'm trying to drop thought, and it's not working. And I never talked to her about trying to drop thought. I said, if you really see it, it'll bring you back to the present moment, and you won't be able to hold on to thought while you're present. But she hadn't seen that for herself. And she said, it's just too hard. So she's yelling in my office, screaming, and I have no idea what to say to her. And whenever that happens, I just get quiet. I don't have to know intellectually what to do or say. I just get quiet, get present. And then the way this deeper intelligence works, it brought me exactly what I needed when I needed it. And I said something to her I had never said to a client before. I said, would you sit down? I'm going to tell you the secret to everything we've been talking about. And she looks at me and she goes, I knew there was a secret, and I knew you weren't telling me. And she sat down, and I said, now listen, I'm going to tell you this secret. But you have to really listen in order to hear this secret. So you have to let me know when you think you're really listening. Listening is as a metaphor for being fully present, for being all in. And she went, oh, okay. So she went from hysterical rage to sitting, being present, became calm almost immediately. And then she goes, okay, I'm listening. And I said, that's the secret. I thought you said it was hard. You just did it in an instant. You went from rage to presence, and you were no longer holding on to your rageful thoughts, and they pass very quickly. She says, that's it? It's that easy? She couldn't believe it. She had a massive insight. I saw her. It was like the cartoons where the light bulb goes off. She changed. Here's this woman who had suffered these psychiatric diagnoses for years, and suddenly she's beginning to wake up to the fact of thought and that she's capable of being resilient. And she woke back up to the present moment. She discovered her innate resilience. And now she understood that when you feel this way, it's not a curse. When you feel tense, stress, or upset, it's not a curse that you're trying to get rid of. It's, as Nina said, it's a feedback that's letting you know there's only one psychological problem, being in a low state and holding on to that thought and thinking it's true. And the instant you're present, you release that thought, and it's no longer in your experience because it's just energy that will flow and pass or dissipate or expand. Every feeling of fear, stress, upset is a held thought that when you let go of it, it will expand. So every feeling is really love in disguise. That was an insight I had one day. It's not bad or wrong to feel this way. And I don't have to go anywhere to get a better feeling. This is the feeling that if I'm present without resistance, without judging, only when we think do we judge. If I'm present without thinking and judging, this is what I'm looking for. It's the same energy, and now this energy will expand instead of contract, because the human body can do one of two things, contract or expand. When we think, we can create contraction. When we're not thinking, you don't create contraction. So sometimes people say there's only two emotions, fear and love, contraction and expansion. And our thinking either creates contraction, or when we let it go, we don't have to try and think positive. We're built to expand. We're built to radiate energy. That's why light has been used in spiritual teaching as our true nature. If you light a match, the energy from that match will expand and radiate, and you can be on another planet. If you had the right telescope, you could see that light. Unbelievable. Our true feelings will radiate when we release our hold on them.
So that just is so exciting to me. That's living life all in.
All in.
All in. That's what you were just talking, and I was getting so excited because it allows for us to enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
The ups and downs, because life is not, we don't have control over life. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know how other people are going to be. We don't know what's going to happen with jobs or weather, or there's so much that we don't have control over. And so things happen that are hard. And we are filled with sadness at times, and we are filled with anger at times. And we do have beautiful, wonderful experiences. But if we know that the nature is for it to expand when we let go, when we get out of our intellect, it's not scary. And it's all beautiful. You know, I think, Dad, what I got so excited about was that it's really all, anything is just love in disguise once we let go. That makes it not scary.
Yes.
And I think we've all had experiences where we've had a sadness, someone that we're close to has passed away, or we've lost out on an opportunity and we feel a deep sadness, but it's not a bad experience. And it's because we're not judging it. We can
Yes.
we can have downs that are beautiful. And to me, that's really exciting because the ups are a given. We enjoy the ups. But when we can enjoy the downs too and see the beauty in them, see the innocence in ourselves, see the power of what we can create in our life and our world, that's beautiful. And that's living all in. And the byproducts, I mean, I want to talk a little bit about this before we get into some questions. Or
Yeah.
what are the byproducts of living life all in? So what does it look like when you can get more present in the world? For me, this is a huge one, curiosity. Like when I'm present, I become more curious about myself, about my friends, about my kids, about their behavior, and it's not personal. I get more connected. I feel connected to other people in new ways. I feel gratitude for life. I feel a grace that I can move through hard times. And as my dad said, that resilience of knowing that I can do hard things. And I think I'm a better listener. So there's all these and someone put in the chat, hopeful.
Yeah.
And that's huge. To have hope is huge. And when you know that your experience is just being created moment to moment via your thinking, you can have hope because you know that it always changes. It's like I've been sitting at my desk here for the last couple of days having sessions with people, and I'm looking out, and the last 2 days have been just gray and rainy, and the forecast was rain, rain, rain. And when I look out the window, I see the clouds, I don't doubt that the sun is still out there. I don't doubt that the clouds will part at some point and we will get sun. Like we did a little bit this morning. I'm looking out at some blue sky right now. And so knowing that about yourself, that our core is the well-being that can't get broken, it can't be destroyed. It's always there and it just gets covered up. But when you can really have faith that it's still there, those thoughts that cover it up tend to dissipate more quickly. And that's the love I think that my dad is referring to.
And I want to add that yeah, that's beautiful, Nina. It is very hopeful and uplifting to know that no matter what happens in your life, you're not navigating life, you're navigating your own thought-created reality. Now, let me give an example of that. I've been doing a lot of work with war refugees, doing talks for people in the Middle East and Africa, and we just finished our second long program for Ukrainians, translated into Ukrainian and Russian. We had over 400 people both times we've done this. And at one point, we had someone calling in to ask a question from a bomb shelter in the Ukraine where she was living. And then she shared with us that During the time she was listening to us, she started to realize that no matter what situation she was in, there's nothing in the world that can prevent her from being present. And when she's present, she realized she's built to start feeling better if she's not holding on to negative thought. And when she feels better, she can just, as Nina said, like in the supermarket, that can happen in a bomb shelter in the Ukraine. You can get present, smile at people, be kind, have compassion for people around you who are suffering, and do things to be helpful to them. There's no situation where that's not possible, which is why we say our innate well-being can't be broken. It's spiritual. It's built into the energy of life. And that when our heads clear, this energy generates and creates a more kind, loving, compassionate response to whatever situation we're in. This is why they say in case of emergency, stay calm. Stay calm just means do the best you can to be present, because only then do we have access to love and wisdom. You can't think your way to love or wisdom. And isn't it interesting then when we're feeling most challenged, we do more thinking. But with understanding, when you feel challenged and there's difficulty, you run full speed toward being open and receptive to this deeper feeling and deeper knowing that will come to you by grace as you need it. Nina.
Oh, where was I going to go? Two things occurred to me while you were just talking. The first was that it's just the power of seeing our own well-being, and how, for me, I know that allows me to see the well-being in other people. And what a gift that is for yourself, is that when I can see the wisdom and the resilience and the well-being in my kids or my clients or my friends, that it allows me to connect with them on a deeper level. It allows for me to be more present with them. And that's the connectedness and the hope that we've been talking about a little bit. And the second thing that came to me is just the power of when we get quiet, like my dad is saying, when we get calm, the access that we have to more wisdom. I had a really huge decision that I had to make at one point, and I was working with Christine Heath, and she could tell that I was working so hard with my intellect to figure out the answer to this problem or what I should do. And I'm a smart person, and I was working really hard to figure it out and factor everything in. And she said to me, Nina, you need to get quiet. She said, you need to do nothing and get quiet. And she kept telling me this every week. Nina, just, find a way to get quiet, nothing on your mind, And it took me a little bit, because I was trying to make a decision with huge ramifications. And finally, I did get quiet, and I had an answer. And I knew that answer had not come from my intellect, because what came along with it was this feeling of immense calm. I remember driving, and I was actually driving over to my parents' house and stopped by the beach by their house, and the water was just flat. It was like a mirror. And I remember just feeling like that was what I felt like inside, having made a decision not based on my intellect, but based on letting wisdom come to me. And that was, I have made decisions like that in my life at other times, but this was a new feeling of of a deep trust
Mm.
in something greater than me that would know better than I would. And that's the power of what we're all connected to and how we're all connected to each other. And being open to letting that flow through us when we're present allows for us to live fully and allows for us to live being guided by wisdom and not trying to figure it out. You know, another thing that Chris said to me that was really powerful was, Nina, your future might be better than you've ever even imagined. And so I love to think about that because we tend to make things up.
We're good at it, aren't we?
We're really good about making up stories and filling in blanks.
Mm.
And what if our lives could be something better than we even imagined? And I think that happens when we live fully. And when we live in the grace of knowing that our whole experience is okay.
That's why this deeper intelligence is called wisdom. It knows how to move a human being toward thriving if we get our egos, our personal thinking out of the way. Knows how to do that. I don't have to figure out how to do that. Knows how to do that. Thank God we have an intellect. It's like a computer. It's a gift. It's a beautiful thing to be able to store information and retrieve it, to be able to have memories, positive and negative, and be able to retrieve them. I love thinking about the good times I've had with my daughter. What a gift. But the instant we try to get our computer to do something it wasn't built for, it creates tension. Because you can't use a computer. You wouldn't go to a computer if you wanted wisdom, answers that aren't found in storage. You don't go to a computer if you want love. No one has married their computer. You could say they're married to their computer. You don't walk around with your arm around your computer and introduce your date as the computer. You can't get love or wisdom or well-being from a computer, from your intellect. So we want to be able to have a beautiful, harmonious balance between the intellect and wisdom. So think about whatever you want, and as soon as there's tension, stress, or upset, put your screen down. You've had enough screen time.
Hmm.
Close your laptop.
Oh, I love that.
I know it's a great
That's a good one,
metaphor.
Dad.
Yeah, thanks. It
Let's
works
feel
well.
that one.
Well, it works well because we all have or know teenagers who become over-reliant on screen time, which keeps them thinking. And then by staying in their personal thinking for long periods of time, any human being will get anxious or depressed. And so anxiety and depression those are just feelings letting us know we're out of balance between the intellect and wisdom, and it's time for wisdom to have her say. If we get out of the way, quiet down. Yeah, go ahead, Neves.
Oh no.
Okay. Um, this is sort of the essence of Sid's teaching is got boiled down for me when Nina was 16, and she had gone from being this over dramatic drama queen. Unbelievable. She could get upset and stay upset for days. And she went from that to having this insight about I'm the one who's keeping my low mood experience alive, and I have a choice. I don't have to hold that. And she regained unbelievable resilience. And every one of our friends started, it was like she went from being an 8-year-old to a 40-year-old, 35-year-old, poised, confident woman. That's what our friends noticed and why they all said, oh my God, what's happened to Nina? My wife could not believe the transformation that happened. And that's when she really got interested in the principles. So I said to Nina when she was 16, before you leave home, there's only two things I want you to keep understanding deeper and deeper as you go through life. And you have a good start on the first one. I want you to realize that anything you feel is created by your own thoughts that are created in you in that moment. If you start seeing that more deeply, you will become more and more resilient. You'll be going, why would I keep thinking about this? It makes me feel miserable. Why would I do that? Something horrible happened to me. Why would I keep thinking about it in a way that kept my misery and suffering going? So I wanted Nina and my son Ben to be able to begin to really see the truth of that. And then the other thing I said, I want you to understand is really what Chris said to you, Nina, that when you fall out of thinking, there's a quiet and there's a deeper feeling of acceptance and allowing and love and compassion in that feeling. And then when you're in a quiet mind and a nice feeling, you always know what to do about anything in life. That's your common sense. And I said, you'll have all, in a quiet mind and a nice feeling, you'll have all the common sense you need to live a good life. And both Nina and I have continued to have insights that help us understand that deeper, like listening to you, Nina, just now saying, so you began to see that you really could trust more deeply than you ever had, that in a quiet mind, wisdom would bring you new ways of seeing things, feeling things, doing things. It's this infinite creative potential that all we have to do is be open and receptive to it, and it will come to us. That's the heart of spiritual teaching. If you're open and receptive, something from beyond the human intellect, beyond the human mind, this deeper universal mind will create something new and fresh that's perfect for you in that moment, that will lift your spirits and guide you through the most difficult, challenging times. And that's just as true for people anywhere in the world, any age, in any circumstance. Even the people who are in horrific life circumstances, we can still access this capacity for being present, for waking up out of painful negative thought, being present, and then bringing that feeling of well-being into the world and giving it away through kindness, compassion, caring, sharing, loving. It's all built into us already. No one's damaged goods. Well, Neens,
Yeah.
shall we open it up
Yeah.
and see what people
Anyone
are
wants to share or ask questions?
see what people are hearing and what people would like to share that they've been hearing or what they'd like to ask about.
Sure. Yeah. Any questions?
So you can just unmute yourself and jump in, or you can raise your hand, and either way, it doesn't matter.
I would like to have a saying.
Lisa, hi.
Eva,
It's Eva.
hi. I didn't know that about your grandchild, Dicken.
Oh,
Um,
yeah,
I was on another call.
Here's Eva.
there's Eva.
Yes, I was on another call yesterday, and it kind of hit me there were several stories there that told me about the power of being in peace and calm with oneself. And it was stories about how one's family met you when you were calm in having made a decision that was not quite right for the circumstance, or she thought that the decision she had to make should be different, but it wasn't. And her wisdom told her this is the right thing. And so she was so calm when she told her family, and they were so accepting, and then no discussion.
Mm.
And there was another woman who told about that her horse was very sick. And so she had a meeting with the veterinarian, well,
Veterinarian.
yes, the animal doctor.
Yes.
And the person was very surprised of how quickly the horse regained the health. And she told that she was so calm and she was so confident that he would made it.
Mm.
And what I heard today was also when I have calm in my downs.
Yes.
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 When I have calm in my downs, that can be the same power.
That's right. It's true.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Because when you're calm, you're not judging it and you're not getting freaked out by it. And it's a completely different experience to do downs when you're not getting scared by it.
I have a potential there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not also always doing down very well.
No, nobody is, Eva. That's the thing. I mean, we all get confused. We all get into times when we just don't see it. And that's okay.
Hmm.
That is absolutely okay, and that's absolutely normal.
It is.
That we all have downs that we don't see where it's coming from. And we feel bad. And that's okay. I mean, that to me, that's a huge relief. And for someone who grew up knowing the principles, I was very judgmental of myself at times because I would think, oh, I know the principles. I grew up with this. I should not be stuck, or I should be able to see this as just my thinking. And there have been so many times when I haven't been able to do that. But when I judge myself about that, it doesn't make it any easier.
No,
It
no.
doesn't. It doesn't help me get out of it more quickly. But when I relax into it and think, okay, this is part of being human.
Yes.
Part of being human is having downs, and it's okay. Then that helps me relax a little bit. And then maybe I find that little bit of space where I'm like, oh, this is just my thinking. And then I can try to come back to the present. But you're absolutely right. It's that calm. And if you can find that calm when you're in a lower place, it'll pass more quickly. You'll bounce back. You'll see your resilience. Some wisdom will slip in and you'll know what to do.
And I think also when I'm accepting and not judging, my surroundings will also be more kind, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because often when we need it the most, we don't get it because we are we have so much resistance. So it's very difficult for others to give us something.
Yeah.
And to meet us with kindness.
When we can love ourselves, it makes it easier for other people to love us.
Yes.
Thank you, Eva. That was
Thank
great.
you.
Lisa.
And when we don't judge ourselves for being down, the amazing thing is you stop being so judgmental of other people when they're down. And instead of judging them, you have compassion because you know they're just caught up and don't know it. Interesting. You know that they have perfect well-being and that at some point their head will clear and they'll come back. And I used to get annoyed when people were in low moods and became really critical, especially if it was critical of me. And I still do sometimes, but more and more I can see I'm not surprised. If anybody opens their mouth in a low state, their thinking is more judgmental. So what comes out of their mouth is going to be more judgmental. And I'm not as surprised by it. It doesn't affect me the same way. It's like, well, of course it's going to be judgmental.
Mm.
When I'm in that state of mind, if I open my mouth, it comes out judgmental. It's just how we work. So the more understanding you have, it's like it protects you. Sid Banks used to say, you have this understanding that can help you live in beautiful feelings, but when you drop into a lower state, it reaches a point where you bring your understanding with you into a low state and you go, oh, this is normal. It's just what I'm thinking. It's just coming from me. It's not coming from someone else. It'll pass. It's just thought, and it's not up to me when it passes. It'll pass when it passes, but I know it will. I don't have to worry about that. And I can just hang out and go about my day, and I'll get over this. And if you have understanding, you're not as likely to act on your negative thinking. So you can have very negative thinking, and if you don't act on it, the thinking is really just neutral. Doesn't mean anything. One time Sid says, every thought you have is neutral until you grab onto it and give it meaning. So you can have the thought, boy, am I stupid? And I remember one time I caught myself thinking that, and then I laughed. I went, it's just a thought. It's not like ultimate truth that because I forgot to do something that I'm stupid. Happened yesterday. So it's like, yeah. Eva, thanks. Both. Lisa, you have your hand up.
Hi, thank you so much. What a wonderful call and conversation. I'm really getting a lot out of it. Actually, I've had so many insights just sitting here listening. When I was in my 20s, I was introduced to some Native American ceremonies and traditions with a friend who brought me, and I was coming out of a rebellious, angry adolescence, and it was the first time I learned how to pray or how to believe in something bigger than me. I ditched my Catholic upbringing by 8th grade. And I remember working with an elder on the reservation. You had to bring tobacco as an offering. And I had a problem. And the problem was, am I going to marry this guy that I'm engaged to in my young 20s? That I should have said no when he proposed and I didn't, and I was prolonging it. And I couldn't say I'm not going to marry him. I couldn't do it. We were living together. Anyway, the whole thing. So he said to me, I came to him to talk about this, and he said, look towards your abdomen, close your eyes, get quiet, look towards your abdomen and sit with that question for a minute, and then just tell me the next thing that comes out of your mouth. Like, just tell me what it is, no matter what it is. And I did that exercise with him, and it was the first time that I ever got wisdom, like insight. And what it was is I couldn't picture him as a father. That's what I said. And I cried, but I knew I wasn't going to marry him. I knew I could say it, and that was why, and it felt right. And ever since then, I kind of always had this, I believe in the path I'm meant to live sort of motto. And that carried me for a long time in life. And then when something really, really bad happened in the most recent 5 years, I lost my way, right? And then I found the three principles, which brought me back to who I am again. Thank God. But it's all the same, right? And so I was listening to you, Nina, talking about like how you really trusted and something bigger than you knew better than you, or you said something like that. And I resonated so much with that. It's the same thing. Anyway, I just really forgot about that path I'm meant to live motto until now again, sort of remembering how connected I was. I made such choices in my life from that place, from looking at my abdomen and finding a quiet mind that this elder told me to do back in my 20s. I don't know. Anyway, it's all the same. And I just love that it's just always still there.
Always still there.
Yeah, it's really great. And Dick, and I really liked how you described, social media and kids suffering. We all know it's such a bad thing, but you said it so eloquently. Like if you just simply spend that much time in front of a screen, you're just spending that much time inside your head
That's right.
and into your intellect. And I don't have to add more than that, actually. That's enough.
Yes, that's enough.
Away from your balance, to take you away from your center, to take you further away from being resilient, and also brings you closer to anxiety and depression, which they all suffer from, it seems. And, tons of,
I've got two of them.
yeah, right. I know mine's 19 now. He's going to be 20 soon. But, there's tons of research about this, right? About screen time and kids' mental health. But you said it so eloquently. I actually kind of tried to write it down as you were saying it, just to have a reminder and access to the way that you just said that. The more time you spend in front of the screen, the more anxiety and depression you're going to feel. It's just.
Well, one research study, Lisa, about depression said that people who are depressed spend 85% of their day not present, thinking about having thoughts that are really negative and holding on to them, believing them for 85% of the day. If they weren't doing that, they wouldn't be depressed. So the beauty about seeing that it's my own thinking creating this is that when you really see that without effort, without technique, you start letting go of things that you know are making you feel bad. It's like if I put something too hot in your hand, you would never say, what technique shall I use to let go?
Right.
You'd let go. So Sid says, if you really see thought, you'll naturally begin to let go and come back to the present moment, he would say, come back to a quieter, more meditative state of mind, less filled with personal thinking and more fully present.
Mm-hmm.
It's built into us. So if we really start seeing the only problem any of us have psychologically is holding on to a low mood thought, we'll start seeing it, we'll start catching ourselves doing that and letting it go, and it'll bring us back to the present moment if you really see it. And then the next step is you start getting more trust that when I'm not thinking about things, I'm not stupid or dumb, I'm open to getting new thoughts that'll occur to me, new feelings that'll occur to me. So Sid talked about the difference between thinking we do, that's ego. And when we're not thinking, we still think, but it pops into our mind.
Mm.
And positive feeling comes when we're open and things pop in. That's where peace, joy, and love come from. They don't come while we're thinking. You can't think and feel love or happiness. You can't. You try it. Try to think and be happy at the same time as you're thinking. You can't feel peaceful because you're not present. When you begin to disengage, then it's built into us. Letting go of judgment, we naturally feel peace. When our head's clear, our senses come alive, so we're going to feel happier.
Yeah.
And when we go deeper, we begin to experience the connection that's always there between everything in life. We're part of an ecosystem. And so the quieter my mind gets, the more love I feel for people, and it's unconditional. It's not me trying to love. That's ego. Trying is always ego. It's thinking that creates stress or tension. When I let go of trying, searching, wanting to be different, not accepting, no resistance to what is, the paradox is I start coming back up again. I'm built to come back up again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it needs.
Well, I just want to tell a little story about you. And and about because you were just talking about unconditional love and how when you are present, you feel unconditional love for everyone. And I have to tell everyone that when I was growing up, um, mine was the house that all my friends wanted to come to. And and it wasn't because we had an amazing house with lots of toys and fun stuff to do. It was because both my parents were so loving and accepting of all of our friends that they were living in the present, and that was for kids, in their teens to feel accepted by adults and to feel loved by adults. That was huge. So all my friends liked coming to my house because of my parents and because of the love that they felt. So that's just one example of how powerful this can be in our lives, that when we live fully and when we live in the present, connecting with people, it brings more people to us. It enriches our lives. And it's so amazing for me to think about that when we step out of our own way, when we get out of our intellect and we let some of this natural intelligence flow, where our life takes us. And that's the really exciting thing for me at this point in my life. I'm like, oh my God, there's so many possibilities and I am open to it. And I'm trying to let it flow.
I had a great metaphor about that, Nina, the other day. You have a garden hose, and when you turn on the water, it just flows through that hose naturally. When we're caught up in thought, it's like crimping the hose and it blocks the flow of life energy in us. We're keeping it from flowing through our bodies. And that when we become present, it's like uncrimping the hose and it's free to flow. Then anything can flow through, the good, the bad, and the ugly, if you will. I know, Emma, you had your hand up. Did you change your mind, or would you still like to ask something? And then Morton.
I was just going to thank you both very much. And I've listened to you, Dicken, before, but I haven't listened to you, Nina, and you've been wonderful. And I've had lots of insights. And I suppose my question, well, it's not even a question because it's too late for my sister, but I just wish she had come across the three principles, and I believe she would still be alive today. She lost her way and she thought, no, the pain was too much and she couldn't see any other way out but to take her life.
Yeah, I know, Emma. So many people innocently are suffering because they've lost hope. They don't know that they have well-being inside. They don't know the only problem is thought. It's not circumstance. So they do the best they can given their level of understanding. But thank goodness you've seen something, Emma, and your life has changed. You've been an inspiration to me, Emma.
Have I?
From absolutely from where you were and then what you heard and then how you changed from the inside out and it is powerful.
Oh, thank you, Dicken. Well, to tell you the truth, the very first time I met, well, the only time I met you, but the very first time I saw you at the conference,
Yes.
it was like my dad standing there, or the dad I never had, put it that way, the dad I never had. And that was the feeling I got when I very first met you.
Well, Emma, I had the same response you did about your sister with my dad. He didn't know the principles, so he would get caught up in thought and get down, and then drink to feel better or smoke to feel better. And the combination of stress and drinking and smoking, he died of a heart attack at 56. And I learned the principles right after that. But I couldn't save my dad. But by living the way I'm living, it's helping to save the lives of many other people.
And that's what I hope to be able to do, get people to listen, really wake up and listen, because people just can't go on dying like this, like my sister.
Yes, I know. Isn't it interesting that I ended up working for 16 years in a company that was a huge multi-billion-dollar company teaching the principles. I saved the principles I didn't personally, but the principles saved the lives of so many of my dads in that company. And they would tell me with tears in their eyes how it changed their lives and how it helped them get a whole new lease on life and start, as Nina says, to start really just living life fully and relax into life and not be so frightened of the ups and downs.
It saved my life.
I know it did. I know it
It
did.
has, though. It has. It's turned my life around, but it saved my life. But it hasn't saved my sister's.
No, I know. I know.
I just couldn't get. I don't know. I know how it saved my life, but I couldn't get through to her that it's just your
I
thoughts,
know.
Linda. It's just your thoughts.
I know. No, I
She
know.
believed everything like I used to.
Yeah.
You know, when you said most people believe 85% of the thought, I believed 98.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Emma, I've heard you talk at the conference, and you're doing your piece to bringing more love and understanding into the world, and it really is making a difference. It really
Yeah,
is making a difference.
okay, thank you.
Yeah. And as Sid says, Sid Banks was the most deeply connected person I'd ever met, and he would say, I can't help everybody. They're not ready to listen at this point in their life. And maybe in the next lifetime they'll be able to hear something.
And pay with a life.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. Right, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome, Emma.
I wish she'd listened. I wish she'd listened, and I wish she had
At her
accepted
level,
help
at her
like
level,
I did.
Emma, at her level, she couldn't have heard then. At her level. God bless her.
God bless her.
May,
Thank you.
may she rest in peace. And you're helping your sisters everywhere. You are, by how you're living and what you've come to understand and what you share just by your presence. Just walking through a grocery store, you can affect people's lives. It doesn't
Yeah, and
have
I
to.
totally resonate with Nina. You know, it's like I'm having conversations with everybody, and it's very the connectedness. And then on a bad day, it's head down and
Yeah.
just get the stuff and out.
Yeah.
Well, you're in good company.
I
Welcome to the human race.
was thinking that actually when I was listening.
Yeah, good, good.
My
Emma,
people.
Emma, great to talk to you again. It's wonderful to see you. Thanks for speaking up. Morton.
Thank you, Nina.
You're welcome, Emma.
Nice to meet you.
You too.
It's such a nice talk you just had all the time. I just wanted to make a comment because that's maybe where I'm a little bit trapped myself. I get the not to be afraid of it, in the sense of whatever we experience in our life and stuff like that. but when you add a little bit about pain in the body, and you could have stomach pain, whatever, wherever the pain
Yes.
lives, that doesn't matter for the example. But I experienced pain in my life, and I'm totally sure I created it myself. So right now, I put down the switch, it's on, right? And then I'm trying to find where to put it off again. But when you're caught up in your system, and I can have a wonderful day, sit in the car, and suddenly it comes out of the blue, and I feel pain. And of course, it is maybe a thought I didn't see or whatever it creates it. But
Yes.
I've kind of, made some, well, I don't know, remembrance or something, where I you say that activated some thought components, you could say, that is sometimes activated. But of course, I'm sitting and kind of, pressing the drawer. I can't quite get it open. I'm doing a lot of trying to get the lid off and seeing new insights in this area. But just because the human thing is that if you have pain, you want to have it to go away. That is the normal response when we have pain. We like to have it go away.
Yeah.
So, but sit with it. So in this instance, you can say not to be afraid of it. I've also tried to go into it and be with it and whatever I've tried, but I haven't found the silver bullet yet. But
Yeah.
at a given point in time, I'll get it.
You haven't accepted it yet.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. When we don't accept an experience, it gets stronger.
Mm.
When we don't realize that an experience is created by thought, we think there must be some other reason for it.
Yep.
Memory can come in an instant. Sid would say, we're a thought away from misery, we're a thought away from happiness.
Exactly.
You can be sitting in a car on a beautiful day, and memory that we have stored, painful memories, are built to be activated by association. So something you see, something you hear, another thought, a certain feeling can suddenly activate memory. And we have no clue what the memory is. It doesn't matter, but it's a sudden, strong, painful feeling.
Yeah.
That's normal. It's going to happen. It's not wrong. It's not, you're trying is now adding stress onto a normal memory created. How we heal from memories is the opposite of what we tend to do. If a painful memory comes in and we know it's just thought, you don't have to know what it is. You don't have to rip a garbage bag open to take the garbage out, to examine the content. You just come back to the present, allowing yourself to feel that moment of pain, and it'll pass at some point. Next time it'll come up, it won't be as strong. Next time it comes up, it won't be as strong. Sometimes it may, after a while, it may not even come up. That's how people get over painful experiences. It's built into us to get over it, but we don't do that. We have a thought come in, it creates pain, and then we start thinking. We start trying.
Been there, done that, got the t-shirt.
We all do.
Yeah, I know. Okay, that was just a reflection from my side.
It's a really good. I'm glad you brought it up, Morten. That's a lot of people are curious about that, and we keep trying to have insights, and paradoxically, that just makes it more difficult.
Exactly. Yeah, the slot machine. I put a lot of coins in the slot machine, and it doesn't. Not 3 stars yet.
Yeah, that's right. Trying is ego, trying to get out of ego.
Exactly. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, you're welcome, Morten. Take care.
I mean, that for me, before Windsor goes, that for me is just it's that acceptance and that relaxing. It's
Mhm.
like when I go cold plunging and I get in the water and it feels so cold and I can't breathe and it's uncomfortable. But if you just accept that that's the feeling that you have in this moment and breathe a little bit, you get okay with it.
It changes.
It changes
Yeah,
your
it changes,
experience. And then all of a sudden you're immersed in this freezing cold water. And I go in the Pacific Ocean right here. And you look around and there's beautiful sky and the water, and all of a sudden it's okay. So it is that acceptance and that relaxing into it. And knowing that, yeah, my response right now to being in cold water is completely normal. And it's okay. And then it sort of recedes.
You're not relaxing. It's relaxing into the present moment fully,
Yes,
which
yes.
includes the pain. It's not indulging in the pain by trying to feel it. A lot of my clients are trying to feel their pain. I should feel it. I'm going to feel it. I'm going to be miserable. And that has nothing to do with the present moment.
No, it's more like not to be afraid of it, and as you said, accepting it in the
Yes.
moment.
Yes.
That's
There you go. There you go.
yeah.
I
Beautiful.
mean, if people get one thing out of this talk today that would mean so much to me is just not to be as afraid of those low experiences.
Oh.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Thank
not
you.
to
Yeah.
get scared by experience, because it's just how we work and it's all normal.
Yeah.
So it's okay. Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Windsor, my buddy.
How's it going? I'm amazing. So good to see you.
You've made my day.
Likewise, and what a beautiful conversation. Lovely to see the tag team of you and dear Nina here today. And I just want to express a lot of gratitude for this conversation and the clarity and heartfelt eloquence that you share from. And I just love how we can relate everything we're speaking to any experience that we have, and it's so useful. So I just really want to thank you on that note, and that pointer by Nina, and indeed Sid, of not being afraid of any experience is so beautiful, and I'm so grateful for that. And I'm aware we've been speaking for a while, so I'll keep it brief. And I know that you, Dicken, have worked with quite a lot of people in quote unquote big business, and when it comes to the world of legal professionals, I've recently been. I won't go into anything. It's like just recently, in my father, when he passed and his estate, etc. There's been a lot of toing and froing between both sides and arguments and blurring the lines of truth, etc. And it's when you have worked with professionals in that ilk, when there's really detailed conversations that go along, is it essentially the same thing that those people have found helpful, that there's a time to close the laptop and reflect before speaking? Oh, I think you were muted.
I don't know why. Why is there suddenly? Windsor, try muting yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that helped. I don't know why that happens, but I worked in big business and sat in on a lot of meetings with engineers, and they're really talking technical. And if I tried to think about what they were saying and understand it intellectually, I'd get so I'd completely not get anything. But in the face of that, if I just relaxed, was open, was listening, it's unbelievable how wisdom would bring me observations that I was making that I added to the conversation that was helpful. So we may not be able. Sid would say it's very, very, very difficult to try and change someone else. So the best thing we can do is to look within. Beyond our thinking, there's a quiet, there's a deeper feeling of. He said there's no word in any language because you're not labeling it, you're not judging it, you're not in your conceptual mind. The feeling of being fully present is a beautiful feeling if you're not judging it, if you're not labeling. There's a quiet, there's a feeling, and in that feeling, there's a knowing that will guide you. That's how Sid would often say, that's all I've ever told anybody. That's all I'm teaching. It's all thought. Wake up to the present. In the present, there's pure thought, which is no holding, fully present. There's pure consciousness, which is a deep feeling of well-being. And there's pure mind, which is knowing. That's the essence of all teaching. Look within. There's a quiet, there's a feeling, there's a knowing. Within being beyond your intellect, just being present and you're beyond the intellect. It's that simple. Nina, I think we should wrap things up.
Yeah.
It's been such a delight doing this with you, sweetie. And,
Me too, Dad.
wow. Yeah. We can just, I'm going to unpin us.
Oh, we're getting echo.
Yeah, I know.
Can you tell? Oh, there we go.
There you go. Okay. Thanks everybody for coming, and hopefully this was helpful. And Nina and I have just loved hosting such a wonderful party. I wish we had more time to talk to each and every one of you, but we could feel your presence, so we appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you all so much. This was a wonderful experience for me. I loved sharing with all of you, and I felt, I'm stepping into a new space doing things like this, and I felt so welcomed by you all. So I appreciate that a lot. And thank you, Dad.
Sorry, I can't find the little yellow sign asking. Could I just ask? Is this is recorded?
Yes.
Will it be sent out to us?
No, I'll post it on my Facebook page, and the people that were in my compassion class, I will send it to them.
Brilliant. All right.
And Dad,
if you're not on Facebook, shoot either one of us an email, and we'll send you the link.
Okay.
Dad, you can put it on your YouTube page, and people can search for you on YouTube.
I'm lost on this. If you're sending it to the compassionless people, that'd be great.
Yeah, I will get it on YouTube, but that takes a few days.
Okay.
But
I emailed you about what do I do now? I really got into this, and we've done the 5 sessions. Just how to go on. I don't know the words training or what, but how to develop from where I am. But it's probably a big question now, and you want to go. But
shoot me an email again, and
okay,
I'll write back possibilities for you.
Oh, Dicken, that's brilliant. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Sorry for being late. Thank you, Nina.
You're welcome.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.
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 Okay, I'm gonna stop the recording and end the meeting. Bye, everybody.